are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast featuring one of your hosts, Mario E. and Kid. What's going on?
Not much, man. Just glad to be back on the pod. Seems like it's been a while.
Yeah. So today we are talking about the grass is greener on the other side. Kid, you want to start us off?
Yeah. I think we all have been in situations where we felt like that, the grass was greener on the other side, feeling like somebody else's situation is better than ours, or, wanting to be in a different position that you are in right now. But I think a lot of times, just speaking as a man, I have to focus on my lane, being in my lane, focusing on my life, focusing on what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. I think too often we get caught up in what somebody else is doing, other people watching other people's pockets, seeing how much money they making and trying to do what they do, what vacations are they going, what houses do they have, what cars do they have, what clothes are their kids wearing at school, and all that stuff, man, is just superficial, man. You got to be the best person that you can be. Don't worry about other people, because when you worry about other people, man, that stuff hinders you.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It hinders you, and you just can't get caught up into that. And I know we live in a social media age where you go on Instagram and you go on Facebook and you see somebody doing something. But like I told you before, it's like, man, people online, man, they faking it, man. A lot of them faking it until they make it. And I told you how I felt about faking it till you make it. It's like, forget the faking part, just make it.
Yeah.
It's hard enough just focusing on trying to make it and trying to make a better life for you and your family without having to feel like that you have to be at a certain point at a certain age and all that stuff. And me and you've talked before about, really getting to that point in life where you're getting to those goals. And if you have goals of being a millionaire or having financial freedom, and we talked about like at the ages that some people really came into their own. And I think we talked about the Colonel at KFC and how like he was in his 60s, before it really started popping off.
Mm-hmm.
And, like even Ray Kroc with McDonald's, he wasn't like 20 years old. He was an older guy too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes time to really get to where you want to be, but you can't get so caught up in where you at and get so frustrated that you just like, man, I want to be where they at. No, just take your time, and do what you're supposed to do, and you'll get there if you're making the right moves.
Yeah.
Now, that can't come without any action. Faith without works, it's dead. So it's like, I need to plan. I need to do my homework. I need to count up the costs. I need to know where I'm going. So these are the things that I'm going to have conversations with my son about. And I'm going to be that dad that's going to say, it's nothing wrong with wanting more. It's nothing wrong with wanting a better life. And yes, son, the grass sometimes is greener on the other side. Sometimes other situations are better than the situation that you're in. Don't let that thought consume you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the grass is greener. So you take the proper steps, you plan, you do your homework, check all the boxes that need to be checked. And sometimes you have to make that move. Sometimes you have to take that leap of faith to get to where you want to be in life. Now, as far as relationships, I do feel like you have to advise. Well, I have to advise my son. I can only just speak for myself and as a man. But I feel like as a father, talking to him, I have to definitely tell him how the grass may not be as green as you think when it comes to if you're in a relationship with a young lady, things are going well. And you know how, just like I know, when you were somebody for a while, it's not as heated as it was at the beginning. You get comfortable. And somebody may seem like it's a better relationship over there, but I would advise my son not to bite on that bait.
Right.
That's not a good place to be in. That's not a good place for your mind to be in.
Right.
When you good and your family is good, and everything is not going to be perfect all the time, but when you got a good situation, you're going to know you got a good situation at home. Don't let all this other talk in the streets or what your friends are doing draw you out of a good relationship with you and your lady or you and your family that you have at home.
That's a big fact right there. Big fact.
I understand we can't tell our friends what to do. And when our kids get a certain age, we can't really tell them what to do. But I do feel like as fathers, we have to advise our kids the right way when it comes to the grass being greener.
Mm-hmm.
What you think?
Yes. So when I think about the grass is green on the other side, I think about man's eyes are never satisfied. A lot of times, and you said a lot of the things that I was kind of thinking about. A lot of times, right? All we think about is what somebody else has and how it's not what we have, and how we want to have what they have. Yeah. We want to covet what they have and all these types of things. But if you can be content with what you've been blessed with, you'll find life can be a whole lot easier and happier. Mm-hmm. And you'll have a whole lot more joy in your life as opposed to just trying to think about what somebody else has and how you got to try to keep over the Joneses and all these types of things. Because none of that, I mean, we've all probably done it. We all have done it. I'm sure we probably looked at somebody else's situation and thought, oh man, they got it better than I do. But in reality, they may not. But like you said, sometimes the grass is green on the other side. When if you're looking at a situation and you're trying to better your situation, there's nothing wrong with trying to better your situation. It's just that when you start to get into the comparison of, oh man, I gotta keep up with this one, and I gotta try to keep up with that one. Social media, and I know I've said it before on here, social media is probably one of the best inventions ever. Yeah. But man, oh man, it can also have negative effects on how we raise our kids and how our kids are exposed to certain things, because a lot of times people may be doing things for likes. So a lot of times people doing things for a certain status or whatever, so that they can be like the it couple or the new it person in Hollywood or whatever the case may be. So my thing is like horses do, in a horse race, put blinders on to a degree, mm-hmm. and be aware that people are around you or whatever and stuff. But sometimes, man, you got to put those blinders on and just worry about running your race. Don't worry about what somebody else's race is doing. I like what you said about, I had kind of written it down in my notes to kind of cover, but you're never too young to do something, and you're never too old to do something. You may be around a bunch of people who are they're making all these moves and things like that, and maybe it's not your season, maybe it's not your time. And you can think about plenty of people who made it big in something, or who did these great extraordinary things at various ages. You can go to like just contemporary people who are doing great things today. You can go back to years and years ago. You can go back to the biblical times. People of all different ages did things, and you don't have to worry about so much how old you are, and you got to keep up with this one, and how you got to keep up with that one. I need to do this by the time I'm 30. I need to do this by the time I'm 25. And I mean, that's great to have a goal and to work toward that goal. But if you miss it, regroup, set the next goal, try to hit it to, and that's what you do. That's one of the things definitely I think we should teach our kids, the grass may be green on the other side. It may not be green on the other side. And I like what you said too. One thing that I say as far as with this topic is important is loyalty. Okay. Is loyalty.
No,
and I say that because when you think about relationships, and be careful with thinking that because you in this relationship and you see how somebody else's relationship is, that you got to have it just like that. Be loyal to your situation. Don't run out there trying to do something crazy and get yourself caught up. And next thing you know, you disloyal.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I've seen a lot of people, and sadly enough, I've seen a lot of people really like be unhappy in relationships, man. And they end relationships and they really end something that when they really had a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
And the sad thing about that in life, sometimes you're given something, sometimes you're given a jewel early. And if you never get that jewel appraised, you don't really know what the value of that jewel is on the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you just take it and you just throw it away. And then when you get out there on the market and you just really seeing what you got out here, and it's like, man, nothing out here is what I had. I didn't know what I had,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, especially like our age, are kind of like going through that. And I think it's sad because we don't have a lot of time to really find the person that we want to be with.
Yeah.
And a lot of time is limited. That's why I feel like it's important for us to, and I'm not for teaching your kids about relationships too early, but I feel like you need to teach them like the principles of those relationships. Like with my son, I need to show him how to treat his wife by the way I treat my wife and his mother. I think those things are key. And if you're not a father in the home, let's say that you're not able to live with your child, but when your child is with you, if you do have a lady friend or whatever, show them the proper way on how to treat your lady friend or your girlfriend, mm-hmm. or your fiance, or your wife. Your kids can learn through your behavior. Because a lot of kids, they don't want to hear, don't do as I do, but do as I say. No, they're going to do as you do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for us to show in every aspect what should you expect in relationships and what should relationships should look like, but don't get caught up on what it looks like from the outside so much. You get what I'm saying? I think people really see relationships from the outside and they just like, oh my gosh, you guys don't have any problems. Like for me and you, for instance, like I've always admired you and Maisha's marriage, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when I wasn't married, I wanted to marry somebody and have a relationship like y'all had, because I always saw how y'all treated each other. Y'all were always good for each other. You respected each other. I never saw you guys like arguing and being disrespectful to each other, but I would have to be a fool to think, looking from the outside into your relationship, that, oh, they don't never disagree. Oh, they've never been in an argument, or they don't ever get tired of each other. Like, that's elementary, man. For me to really think like that.
That's fantasy land.
Yeah.
That's fantasy land. That's a fairy tale.
So you don't have to tell me that y'all have had an issue or a disagreement or something like that. I have to know that there are problems in every relationship. There are problems in every relationship. It's how you overcome those problems, how you overcome those circumstances or those obstacles. That's where you build it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes kids look from the outside, they look at what their parents are going through, and their parents sometimes don't shelter their kids from the issues that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
So then when they see John and Martha from across the street, where their relationship just seems perfect, oh, that's the relationship that I want. I want the relationship like them. I don't want a relationship like my parents. But you don't know what's going on in John and Martha's house.
Right. Yeah. You think you
that's where the misconception comes. Is like, you are not in other people's relationship. I know the grass looks green, but it's not that green.
Yeah. And you don't know what sacrifices these people had to make to get to where they are. And you seeing the end result, or you seeing a snapshot, but you don't see, the struggles of having to be married or in a relationship early on and, struggling together to get to a certain level.
Yeah.
You seeing them on this level, but you didn't see the growth that it took them to get to that level. That's something else too. I think back to about it's kind of corny now, I think, but this comedian said it. I heard this comedian say it. I'm sure he didn't make it up, right? But he said something to the effect of, people always, talking about the grass may be green on the other side, but if you water your own grass, it'll be green too. So nurture your own relationship, nurture your own. If you're in a relationship, dads, this is something definitely I'll tell my son as far as, like I said, going back to loyalty, whether if it be in a romantic relationship or, something platonic or with with your family or whatever. But if you want a relationship or you think you want a relationship like somebody else has, work on your own relationship first.
Mm-hmm.
That's nurture your own relationship. That's where it starts.
Yeah. And, just for, I don't know have you ever heard the story of actually where the grass is greener on the other side came from? With
no.
the bull in the pasture?
Yeah, I heard that. And yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of different versions, but look like the version of that story that I heard was like the bull was in one pasture and he had all the grass he needed. He had everything he needed. It might have been like a thorn bush or something that was between him and the next pasture. And the pasture looked like it had so much grass and had females for him to be with on the other side and everything. And it would just look so great, right? Mm-hmm. And then he jumped over and like went through this thorn bush and he was all jacked up and messed up. And he was just like, yo, I finally got over here. And then when he got over there, he noticed that the grass was just like the grass on his side. And then he noticed that it was other males in the pasture with him. So it wasn't like what he thought, And so he looked back and was like, man, I really had it made back then. I wish I could have went back. But I think that has a lot of significance to what we're talking about right now. And another thing that really made me think about like the grass being greener, and I know we all, not saying that we all want it, but I guess society has put it like very high on a lot of people's list of being famous one day and having millions of dollars and, being known and loved by many people. But like, I really look at like, sometimes the people that are highest up, they have the lowest self-esteem and they go through a whole lot of things.
I hear you, Ye.
Yeah, that's Kanye. I think I've referenced that before. But I thought about Michael Jackson, man. And I thought about like Michael growing up, man, that was like the most famous person that could come to mind. Like, if you didn't know nobody else, you knew who Michael Jackson was, or you had heard one of his songs.
Yeah.
And just the things I saw him have to go through with people always coming around him. And he always they said that he had to dress up in different disguises so people wouldn't bother him all the time. And I just thought that was like so crazy. It's like people want this. And once you get there, you really get really lonely because you just, man, I just want to be normal.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be a regular person. I just want to live my life. But people think that that lifestyle is just so great. And I thought about even Michael Jordan. And I was looking at the documentary when they went overseas. I think the Bulls team had went overseas to play some teams or whatever.
Yeah.
And how people were just going crazy in the streets. You go to another country and people are just going crazy, where you have to be rushed into different places. That gets tiring.
Yeah, I bet it does.
So a lot of times we think that people just got it made, man. It's like, nah. And then even when it comes to money, it's a lot of responsibility that comes with money. Mm-hmm. You got to know how to manage it, or you can lose it. As easy as it came, it can leave just as easy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
There's a price that comes with that, all that particular fame and all that fortune. You know, you may think you want it, but you know, it's a price you have to pay. As a cost to that.
Yeah.
Nothing free in the world.
Yeah. So you got anything else on the topic?
I don't.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for listening to the Dad Roots podcast. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Mario E. and Kid, we're signing out.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your host, Mario E. and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.